I think I have a pretty interesting game to talk about, and that is a PlayStation 1 exclusive title that came out in 2001 in Europe and 2002 in North America. This is called C-12 Final Resistance. Never heard of it? Now you have. Doing my research, I don't see many reviews of the game being talked about, so I thought I would share you my experience with the game. This is actually developed by the same people and the same team behind the Medieval series for the PS1. They also later made a remake of the same game, and they also made a Killzone game on the PS Vita. Yes, you heard that right. So, let's talk about C-12 Final Resistance and what it is. So, the game takes place in the post-apocalyptic event, and it kind of just plays a bit like Terminator a little bit. And I'm not kidding when I say that. If you guys just take 1 second to look about it, look at your character, look at the atmosphere and everything, yeah, you can see this is more inspired to be from Terminator, except everything is just all post-apocalyptic and all of that. So, for this game, you play as a commander and you essentially take down these robots or whatnot. So, you have a selection of weapons. You got a silenced machine gun or just an assault rifle, to say the least. You also have a swinging melee weapon, which can come in handy at certain situations, and you also have a rocket launcher. You know, as a matter of fact, while I was getting to the last parts of the game, I actually accidentally pressed another button, and I didn't realize there was a secondary fire that uses the rocket launcher to shoot multiple missiles at once, which I think is pretty handy when it comes to fighting certain bosses, like giant vehicles that are flying all over the place. Some reviews try to compare this game to Siphon Filter, and I really have no idea how this game is comparable to Siphon Filter of all things. It's not even made by the same team either, so that's kind of strange. And yeah, it's a Sony game, which I guess we can just say that right there. It's a third-person shooter game, which I highly recommend you guys use the dual analog control scheme for the best experience. Trust me, you're going to need it. Now, you're not going to be jumping from place to place. You're actually going to be running, crouching, and there are some stealth elements in the game, so you also have to take care of that stuff too. Now, in order to like get ammo and that, you can get them from killing certain enemies. Like sometimes they'll drop them, sometimes they won't. There's also health pickups as well, and you're gonna need to solve some puzzles and get some key cards and other places like that to unlock some certain ways so you guys can progress to the game. So there are a few chapters in the game, like maybe like 5 or 6 of them, but they may seem short, but trust me, when you keep playing the game, it's going to be long, more than you think it would be. Now, doing my research, I tried to see what was the launch price of the game, but the closest thing I can get is that, from what I've heard, the game launched at $20, so I can't really blame them for that. Now, playing through the game too, I find some of the puzzles to either be easy or hard. It's kind of just, it's a mixed bag of it, mainly because, like, sometimes you have a piece of a puzzle that's in your files, like your inventory, for example, but you probably won't know that unless you open it. And there are also sometimes puzzles where they don't have that, so it makes it much harder for you to do. Now look, if there's gonna be guys on the rooftop and that, yeah, definitely do like the first person perspective. You can also use the first person perspective stuff to solve like puzzles and find ways to do whatever you need to do. I think what's a cool hidden detail about this game is that if you're in very low health, if you try to go to first person, your screen's gonna go all like buzzy and whatnot. So it just tells you like you're taking so much damage and you really need to try to find some health as soon as you can. Now there is jumping kind of, but only on trying to grapple onto ledges, but that's pretty much it, all the jumping you can do. You can push crates, and there ain't that much to do. There's also like a lock-on system you can do by shooting the enemies as well. Now, try to be careful with your ammo. You may have a lot, but the more you use it, the more like you don't realize you're running out more ammo faster than you're actually getting them. So always go for the headshots when it comes to going to the first person perspective in the game, just to make things a lot easier for yourselves. Also, besides a health system, there's also a shield, so you can protect yourself for a temporary amount of time before anything else happens. With that, you have to hold like the triangle button, and the shield meter appears, and then you have to find these shield packs in order to recharge them. Otherwise, you're not going to get that much coverage for yourself. Enemies can also have their own health bar, so it tells you, it pretty much like helps you out with like what you need to do when it comes to like killing the enemies, like if they're in a good shape or a bad shape or whatnot. So it just tells you that. You also do get this little walkie-talkie communication from time to time. They tell you like what to do or if something's going on, and then it gives you like a warning. Now you can't actually like go to the pause menu and save a game. No, what you have to do is like to find these save points. You stand on there and you press the X button, and then you select whichever memory card you want to put it on, and then that's it. That's all you need to do. Now what's cool is that I don't usually mention about instruction booklets, but they actually give you hints for survival by telling you to go to first person to make sure you do these headshots so you can save yourself more ammo and health so you don't have to worry about anything else. Now, I believe from playing it, if you guys are in first person mode, you can actually see through objects of like the enemies going right behind there. So I thought it was cool that it's a nice feature for a PS1 title that came out during the second year of the PS2, mind you. I mean, the PS2 is backwards compatible with PS1 games, so it all makes sense for this game to be played on there as well. Now, I'm not sure of how much units the game sold, but I can imagine it was low because, you know, it came out of towards the end of the life cycle for the PS1, but there were still games being made for the thing from time to time. So, it's not rare that the game is expensive. I got on this exactly what I said, like around 20. So if you guys can find the game around 20 bucks, then it's gonna be a good deal for you. It should take you guys around like an average of like 3 to 4 hours to beat the game, maybe. But that really depends if you guys know what you're doing and how to survive. So all I can say is watch out for enemies. They can come out any corner, anytime, any place. Sometimes they'll have a sentry turret like just sitting there. You can even disable some of these turrets too, or you could just use them. Some of these turrets are also operated by enemies themselves, so that's another thing you can do. I think you guys will like the game when it comes to playing it. So if you guys have played medieval games from the same company, then definitely give this one a check out if you guys need to.